Hi, Susan.
We are speaking with Ron Miklovic, and he is a volunteer for RTR a couple of weeks ago, and he was in the sound department. He's a jack of many trades, a Ron of many trades, because now he is at the Van Aid Central Camp volunteering a whole bunch of different skills set. So carpentry is one of the things that I know he's doing right now. So what brought you to Van Aid?
Wow, well, that's
You start back as far as you want. Are you a nomad? Are you a full-time nomad?
I am now officially a nomad, full-time nomad as of November 7th last year. October 24th, I sold everything I owned and went full-time. Last winter, I did a trial run where I took 11 weeks, started right after Christmas, and came out here to Quartzsite and the RTR and Van Aid for the first time to see if I liked this lifestyle. Obviously I did. So I went back and I sold everything and started building out my van, and now this is where I'm at and having a great time.
So how did you come about being, or even thinking about being a nomad? Had it ever occurred to you before?
Okay, well, we'll go back in time. Yes, in junior high school, I read a book about somebody who hiked the Appalachian Trail, and I thought that would be a really cool thing to do. So I thought about that a lot. Then in high school, I read a book about a guy who stuck his feet in the Pacific and then hopped on a bicycle and rode to and stuck his feet in the Atlantic. And ever since then, that's been a fantasy plan, if you will, ever since then. If you ask my kids about it, they definitely remember me talking about that for as long as they can remember. And I wanted to do, and when I was a senior in high school, I had my eye on a bread truck. And this was back in the days before gap years and that. So it was like, I wanted to take a year off before I went to college and just travel around. And my parents were like, well, how are you going to earn money? I said, well, go and pump gas when I need money, and then I'll move a little further. But they talked me out of it, being good parents and that. But then I went to college, and that didn't turn out so well. But I became an electrician, but I'm not sure what the question was right there.
How far back do you want to go?
Well, my parents met at a high school dance. Oh no, but.
So that's how you got interested in it.
Yeah,
You've always been interested in it.
I've always been interested in it. When my kids were young, we camped all the time. I became camp master. I liked cooking for lots of people and hosting camping events. We used to have this. My parents were building a cabin on a lake in Michigan, and we used to have these parties. We called them Cub Lake campouts. And there'd be 30, 50, maybe 60 people, depending on the year. And every year there was a thunderstorm in the middle of it. A fierce blowing thunderstorm. And so it's like the third or fourth one, my wife Linda said, well, let's call it the Couple of Camp Out and Thunderstorm Watch. Perfect weather all weekend. So after that, that's what we called it. And always had good weather. So yeah, I've been camping quite a bit and loving to do this. The overall plan was I had my wife, Linda, who was the most smartest, most brilliant, most creative person. She was an artist and everything. And our plan was to retire, get a school bus or something and build it out and this and that. And then we found out she had cancer and she passed away very quickly. Good thing, bad thing. That was in July of 22, and then the fall came, and it was like, I just can't stay in this house. I need to go somewhere through the Ohio winter. And so I said, if not now, when?
Mm-hmm.
And I threw a cheap mattress in my van and some totes with clothes and food and stuff, and I took off for Quartzsite, Arizona, basically. Visited some friends in Florida and Texas, and then came out here and just met this huge, wonderful community of nomads and part-time and just travelers and kindred spirits, if you will, and just loved it. So, like I said, and then after that, I went home, sold everything, and built my van out. And when I say everything, I mean I've not got hardly anything out of that, because I just plan on being in my van
Until you're tired of it.
until I'm dead. Actually, I told my kids I don't want to be in a nursing home. I'd rather die out here in the desert, of a heart attack or something, hopefully quick. But yeah, and right now I'm in a minivan, and I'm 6'2", and I'm making it work. But I wouldn't mind keeping my eye out for whatever it is that's the perfect vehicle for me.
Something will come along.
Right.
And
in the meantime, I want to travel around and look at every area I go and stay. I look at land, go to land.com and look, and someday I'll find 5 acres, 10 acres, or a piece of land where I can park an RV or whatever, or a camper, or a shed, or my sleeping bag or something, and just have a home base. And then
your van is wonderfully appointed. You've done a great job of building it out, and we'll take a look at that in a little while.
Sure.
But you carry your wife with you. She's very much part of that van.
My wife, even though she passed, she basically designed that van. Let me put it that way. I did the physical work, but everything in there is inspired by her. She was an artist. The boxes that I keep stuff in, the garlands that hold this books in, the flooring that we use was stuff she made me keep. It's all about that. And she literally is traveling with me. If you look on the dash, you'll see a little panther. She always loved the panther statues from the 50s. And so I put some of her ashes in that. I did that before I left the first time, and put little Velcro on its feet, and it rides on my dash. So she's with me all the time. I have little urns of her ashes in the glove box. And so when I get to a special place or something, I scatter them and weep and mourn, and then move on down the road. And I couldn't be doing this without her. I wish she could be here doing it with me, but I wouldn't be doing this without her help. So thanks for that.
So beautiful. It really is.
Thank you.
I'm a romantic. So anyway, I want to take a look at this kitchen. I want you to explain what you have done. Let's take a look at there.
This is, I think it's been christened Clive's Dive.
And Clyde is?
Clive.
With a V. Clive. Oh, I thought he was Clyde.
Yeah,
okay.
Clive is my 13-year-old cat.
And kid.
Yeah, well, I'm his human. But and he's in the van. But as far as this goes, I loved my van, and I had it set up so that I could cook, with one of these little butane stoves. Excuse me, I haven't washed my dishes yet. But and I could use it in the van, but I wouldn't want to use bacon, do bacon or anything more than a grilled cheese in it. And I loved to cook when I was at home. So the Coleman stove, I got for volunteering for the RTR.
You won that Coleman stove.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
At the volunteer appreciation event they have. And so all of a sudden, wham, now I've got 3 burners. It's like time to cook.
And you've got a cutting board here, don't you?
Yeah.
And a collapsible table.
Yep. And that was a cutting board I had a bakery at home and that.
Oh my gosh. In your house?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love to bake. I love to cook and cook for masses, people and parties and that. But then I found this clam tent that we're setting in. It online on Amazon, of course. And I think it was $150, $160.
Yeah, you can't beat that price for it. This is Octagon, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's a company called Vevor, Vevor. I'm not afraid to tout them because they make good stuff at good prices. But for $110, including all the side panels, and the day I got it a little over a week ago, I put it up the next day. We had a good old Arizona windstorm, and it was flapping. I mean, it was,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
it still
blowing.
held.
But it actually wasn't flapping that bad. But the only thing I can say is you need the proper stakes. You know, if I used the stakes that came with it, it would have flown away. But it held up. We sat in here during the windstorms and that, and so then it's like I can set my cooking table in here, prep table, and actually last night I was deciding I'm going to build a thing that goes up over the top so we can use that table for a card table or an eating table.
Oh, very good idea. Yeah.
I'm always thinking of building. But yeah, and so I served up breakfast to another tribe that I'm with a few days ago, and
All the comforts of home.
it's not bad. And the rug brings it all together.
Yes, you have made it into a home. And then you've got a toolkit here.
Yeah.
All right, so my first question is, oh my goodness, this is a lot of stuff. Where do you keep it?
Well, not in my van. I knew I wanted to haul my tools because I came to Van Aid and the RTR, and I love helping people and building things and that. So I wanted a way to carry my tools. So I found a little teeny motorcycle trailer that's probably 5 feet by 4 feet, maybe 1.5 feet tall. And with that, I can haul my tools, my kitchen stuff, extra water, clothing, what have you, and leaving me more space to, have inside my van for creature comforts and that. So, yeah, that was a good decision. I think next year I'll probably have a bigger trailer than that because I'd like to travel with a few more items and this and that. But yeah, that's how I save the space for that.
There's a lot of things that you can do when you're on the road. Go and explore, meet new people. You can become a foodie. What brought you to volunteer? I mean, this is back-to-back volunteer that we both were at. I was also a volunteer at the RTR.
Yes, you were.
How did you come to volunteer?
Well, last year was my first year at the RTR, and I loved the event and all the people. And I'm a retired electrician, but I have a long history of doing sound and stage and things for bands. Went on tour, nationwide tour with a band, but that's a whole nother story. Just always did that. Had a recording studio back in the 90s. And so when I filled out the volunteer form online and that, I put retired electrician with experience in sound and stage. And the next day they called me up and said, "Oh, really?" And they talked to me. And so they wanted me to help out. And I've always been a helpful guy, a volunteer. There's a big festival back in my home area called the Black Swamp Arts Festival. I used to volunteer for that. And my wife was an artist, so she was always doing the art shows like that. And so I'd volunteer to help pick up trash or do whatever they needed done and that. So I've always been a volunteering sort of fellow. And so I did for the RTR, and I think they were glad to have me. It was interesting because it was the first time since I left since November 7th that I had to set my alarm clock for like 6 o'clock in the morning. And it was just like, oh no. And for 2 weeks it was like that.
It wasn't any problem, though, getting back into the groove.
No.
Although it took me a good week to get out of that groove.
Exactly. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But by the end of the second week, as it was coming up, I was like, I'm so glad this is done.
Yeah.
Knowing that I was coming to Van Aid a week or so later. And so during that time, I just took off to the hills, if you will, and camped by myself, nice and quiet for 3 weeks. As soon as Van Aid is over, I'm out of here. I'm going to just disappear for a couple of weeks by myself.
That's something that an introvert would do. Go off and collect their energy, restore themselves in silence. Is that what you were seeking?
I've always considered myself an introvert, but with my job in the electrical construction industry, and then I was a foreman, you sort of you learn to fake it. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, okay, you got to go do this, you got to do that, and you got to talk. So I learned to talk to people, spout orders, and get things done, and this and that. But I really cherish my time alone.
Me too.
I mean, total solitude.
And I totally understand that. So, let's take a look at your
Sure.
van.
Sure.
We'll go out through here.
You don't have to.
And what you're looking at is Van Aid Center Camp. All right. And this is Ron's beautiful van.
This is my home. Welcome to my home. On top, I've got 200 watts of solar, and that you can't really see it very well. And that last year, driving through the desert, I almost drove into a very deep wash, and so I wanted to have some good lighting.
Yes, that's important.
And this is on magnets, so I can pop it off when I'm doing a lot of highway driving. I'm a ham radio guy, so I got one of the ham radio and a CV. Don't use it much, but I've got it there to play with.
I was going to ask you about all those antennas.
Yeah, they called me, it's Chihuahua, they called me Storm Chaser. It's like, no, I'm Skywarn. There's a difference. I don't chase storms. I go and observe storms.
It kind of does look like a storm chaser.
Yeah. But then I've got this 10-foot awning, which is really nice. It goes up and down in about 3 minutes. I can have it all the way up or all the way down.
I love that.
And that next to the screen tent, even if it's raining, I can walk out and hang in the tent and come back in here. And it won't take the wind that this does.
And there's your little purple.
There's my little motorcycle.
And you have an e-bike also.
And an e-bike, which I can fold up and carry on the tongue. And I put a barbecue cover over it, and it looks like it's a barbecue, not an e-bike. So extra security. So yeah, this is my home. I haven't cleaned it up, so you've seen it in the way I live in. And yes, it's dusty. We're in the desert. Once I get into the woods, it'll get a good bath.
What is the one feature you like the most?
Truly, that I discovered the footwell in here. This had the stow and go seating, so the seats would have normally stowed away down there, leaving this flat so you could carry plywood or whatever. And it was this big open space. And last year I used it for clothing and food and stuff. And I did like so many people do with their vans. One day in the hot summer sun, I took everything out of the van to rearrange it. And I went, it's a little warm. So I climbed inside and I sat on the end of my bed and my feet went down into this thing.
There you go.
And I was like,
look at that.
Wow, I can sit. Because the one thing I hated about being in the minivan was changing clothes. Getting my pants off was no problem. Getting them on wasn't. And I can't stand up in this. But as soon as I discovered that I could stand up this much,
yes,
enough to pull my
that
pants
is
on,
enough.
And that's staying. It's been a game changer. I probably wouldn't be here if I didn't have that. And I can store my shoes down there and my cat leash.
Tell me about that drop table that you have there.
Yes, this table, Linda and I, my wife.
Because I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
It actually had a leaf on the other side, so it'd make like this big oval table, or bigger, but it was gone years ago. But we had a balcony that every evening we'd go out and have our evening adult refreshing beverages, as she liked to say. And so we'd put this on our balcony, and this is where we'd set our scotch glasses.
Very good.
And it just fit perfectly in the van. I can put it up. I got my computer and my keyboard and my mouse. The computer itself is modular and built in underneath. You can't see it. So for stealth, if I'm parking somewhere and I'm worried about it, I can just take all this stuff away and you can't even see the monitor through the windows.
Speaking of computers, you have your own YouTube channel, don't you?
I have a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
There are a total of 4 videos, 2 really old and really bad.
And more to
And-
come.
And it's called Jackdaw Adventures. Jackdaw was my wife's jewelry company, Jackdaw Jewelry, and that's so when she passed and I decided to go on my adventure, I decided to get Jackdaw Adventures. I'm on Facebook also. I do have a Instagram, but I have done absolutely nothing with it. So you can like it, and maybe someday I'll post something and you'll get it from me. But Facebook, I post regularly. After a talk at the RTR, I decided to experience this adventure as opposed to document the adventure. And so I'm not videoing a lot. I'm not taking a lot of pictures. I'll do sunrise and sunset photos, but I don't think about, oh, I want to take a quick picture of that. I want to pull over and see that. I stop and enjoy it instead of doing it. So it's not real active, but someday I might post some stuff.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah,
So tell me about all of this shelving system you have. And hold on, let me.
you might have to get it inside so
Yep,
the lens can
undo
adjust.
this. First edit.
Let's go back into read. Yeah, it's not much light.
And it's still on. Very good.
After my wife passed and I was clearing out everything, getting ready to sell it, she had a room we called the library, and I was cleaning that out. And she had this tall, skinny, Pier 1 cheap cabinet in there, and I'd taken the books out of it and went out and put it in the living room. Then I went in, and she had this little short bookcase, which is antique, but not really worth anything, really, $50-$60. That was her nightstand and her bookcase next to her bed. And I cleared it out, and I brought it out, and I sat down in the living room, and I sat back to enjoy refreshing adult beverage. And I looked at it, and I went, And I picked this up, and I turned it sideways, and sat it on top of here, making like a T. And I was like, I think that would fit in the van. So the next morning, I measured the height of it, came down and measured the van, and it fit perfectly.
Wow.
Just absolutely perfectly.
And you are a guitarist?
I have always been a musical guy.
Uh-huh.
I haven't played guitar regularly in 30 years, 25 years for sure. So one of my goals is out here is to relearn to play the guitar.
I heard you the other day. I thought you did really well.
I haven't done it much. The big thing is the fingertips. I can only play for about 5 minutes at a time. And I need to be playing, every day for a set amount of time. And
get the calluses
and get
built
the calluses back so that I can actually practice for an hour. I'll get there. I've been being way too social to do it.
And the boxes, the storage boxes.
Yeah, the storage boxes. My wife made all of these. It's basically just tissue paper over empty. If you buy ramen by the case, they come in this size box.
Ramen noodle cases.
Ramen noodles and that. And so she started off doing it out of old paperback books. And then she started getting more creative with these, and I just put some polyurethane on them to help them hold up. And this is where I keep a lot of my food. I've got a pantry down below and more breads and things. I got bandanas and socks, exercise equipment that never gets used, and office type stuff, postcards and stamps and things like that.
Beautiful. And Clive has his own grass.
Yes. Yeah, that's his cat grass.
Speaking of, where's his litter box?
His litter box is up in the front footwell.
Okay.
The passenger seat. I won't show you. I haven't scooped it yet today.
What about your litter box?
My litter box, I've got a collapsible toilet that I can set up in one of those pop-up tents, and that's what I use when I'm stationary. And that otherwise, I
use the facilities at wherever.
Yeah, I'll be at a state park, or I love rest areas when I'm
Me too.
doing my traveling. and that. And of course, get up, go to breakfast in the morning, go to a restaurant. And twice I have used this.
In desperate circumstances.
Yeah, this is my waist can. If it's normal,
it all
plastic
goes in a
bags,
bag.
and,
Yes.
Twice I've had to use this. It wasn't pleasant, and I didn't want to do it in the van, but you know how that goes. So.
I actually do.
So yeah, but the collapsible toilet's nice. I like that.
Well,
so,
what about your bed?
well,
How did you?
Over here, I'm going to finish up.
Okay.
If you can't, the camera won't pick this up, but if you look closely, there's writing on masking tape in here. This wood came out of an old hardware store, and these are paint names and colors.
Oh.
And that was something else that Linda made me keep. Someday we're going to use it. It was all warpy and not nice and this and that. So she made me, keep that wood. So I used that. I do have a sink, even though it's become my catch-all. But I've got a water pump here. I've got a 5-gallon water tank underneath the floor, and that's also where I keep my 100 amp hour lithium battery. You might not be able to see it, but the battery's here. The water tank's under this way, and the rest of the space I use for my pantry, canned goods and stuff like that. I don't think I've shown you this before, but if it's nasty and I want to cook inside, that piece comes up. Come on, there it is.
No, I didn't see that.
And hooks in there.
Ah, very good.
And then I can set my stove or my rice cooker, which I love my rice cooker on there. And it just gives me just enough extra space between that and the drop of the leaf table to eat off of that I can make soup. I can heat up a can of soup or this or that. And that. So, yeah, that's one of the tricks it does.
What do you use, a butane system or?
Oh, the propane.
Propane?
Your good old grill one, whatever it is, propane one.
A gas one?
Yeah, gas one. And that. Under here is where I keep my refreshing adult beverages. There's my jeans and my shorts are down there. My t-shirts, button-down shirts, sweatshirts, more socks, underwear, various hats. This is my night table where I keep my book of poetry that my mom gave me, and been reading On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Classic. And that. So this is my night table, and down under here is where Clive sleeps when it's cold. He's got his own little nest. He just curls up in there.
That is so nice.
I bought the cat bed for him, and he wouldn't go near it. I put it in various spots, put it down. He wouldn't go near it. One day or one night, I'm getting ready for bed, and they take off my t-shirt, and it ended up there. Next morning, Clive is curled up in there with my t-shirt. So I just cycle through my t-shirts out there. He just wanted something of me to be on. Let's see. Asked about the bed. Let's see if I can get it to do some of its tricks. We've been talking about Clive.
Hey, Clive.
Who's Clive?
You're so beautiful. He doesn't like me to talk to him like he's a baby, though.
Oh, no.
Hey there.
No, he's an asshole. You got to treat him like an asshole.
You're an asshole.
Aren't you, Clive? You're an asshole.
Hey there.
No,
He's such a gorgeous baby. Yes, you are.
He's a good cat.
You're a handsome one.
If I didn't have him, people would think I'm talking to myself all the time. So that's why I keep him around.
Well, okay. I heard you yelling at the wind yesterday.
Oh, I hate the wind. I hate the wind. But, so the bed, it works better if there's nothing on it. But there we go.
Oh my gosh, it goes up into...
Ow! It bit me.
Oh, goodness. Are you okay?
Yeah. No blood.
Ouch.
Might be a blood blister, but
so,
it's the first time that's happened.
Oh, my God. Ouch. I've got chills running through me right now.
It's fine. But, yeah, so I can kick back and lounge and watch Netflix.
This is amazing.
And
So do you use that all the time?
not as much as I thought I would.
Okay.
But if it's going to be a full day of
Mhm.
rain and this and that, and I know I'm going to be watching, TV for 2 or 3 hours,
Yep.
yeah, I'll pop it up and do that. But mostly I sit cross-legged on it and watch TV that way. Try not to watch too much TV.
Did you construct that yourself?
Yes.
Wow, this is awesome. Very nice. Are you bleeding?
No.
Okay.
Not externally. Just internally. But
Well, that's a nice segue because we are going to talk to a lady that you have helped immensely. Are you sure you're okay?
oh, I'm not okay. I haven't been okay for a very long time.
Ouch. See, that's what I'm talking about.
There. So you still going?
Yep.
But yeah, so this is the back of my van. You can see all the stickers of some of the places I've been.
Jackdaw Adventures.
It's my logo.
I love
That's
it.
what you look for on Facebook and YouTube.
Oops.
Oh, don't worry about it. Somebody wants to steal my identity, they can have it.
So you've been to NASA?
Oh, yes. Seen multiple launches. I got a friend of mine who works near NASA, and he never misses a launch.
Ah,
And I did a trip last January up to northern Michigan, the UP of Michigan, and that's what a lot of those are.
you even went to Kennedy Space Center.
Mhm.
That's cool. So Weeki is one of my favorite springs in
I
Florida.
won't even tell you about my experience there. It was amazing. I was going for the total camp,
Uh-huh.
Florida thing, and I was blown away.
Well, you'll find it there, that's for sure.
It was amazing. But in the back, I found a way
Oh,
to
nice. Nice. Oh, that's
can hang-
beautiful.
hang this blanket up, and it makes a huge difference, especially when there's that wind we had coming from this way.
Oh,
It just
wow.
shuts down the wind.
That is
It
gorgeous.
just starts off with a little piece of
Uh-huh.
PVC pipe. It works really well unless
It's
it's a real rainy night. Then
Uh-huh.
this will wick in some moisture. And there's Clive again. That's where he usually sleeps. But
Oh, you can really tell how much room you have in this way. Oh, yeah. Oh, and you have an
And-
alpical? What is it?
Alpicool
Oh, nice.
32, I think it is. And that
Very
perfect
nice.
size for me.
Yep.
Keeps just enough of my refreshing adult beverages cold. And then underneath the bed, I've got just enough room for like my table and chairs and stuff like that for when I'm traveling.
Very nice.
The,
Look at that. Nice.
The stow
Lots
and
of
go.
storage.
Yeah, the stow and go underneath there, I can get at. The bed actually does what it did this way. It does
Uh-huh.
that way too, so I can get to it.
Oh.
But I have to do a repair on the hinge on this side.
Well, you're going to first have to remove some of the skin you just took off.
But yeah, so I've got room under there. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it. I was keeping clothes in it, but then it was like I wanted to put in a diesel heater so I could travel into some cooler places.
Uh-huh.
'Cause I'm only good to about 35 degrees here. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's a whole other story.
My little buddy, I went to Maine. It was cold,
Mhm.
but my little buddy worked just fine.
Yeah, with having Clive in there, though, he's
Oh.
such an asshole. and
You know what?
finding a
I
place
forget
to put
about
it,
the pet. Yes.
it's
Listen, what are you doing? You're soaking up the wind, aren't you? Or the sun? I'm not sure.
he's just being Clive. He wants to be out. I try to let him out for about an hour a day, and he'll sleep really well at night. But the other night, after it was windy and he didn't spend much time out there, about 4:30 in the morning, he got the zoomies. And zoomies in a van for a cat.
No,
because it was
no.
from here to there, back and forth. It was just 4:30 in the morning. Asshole. And then I just want to, for all you guys out there, and girls, women, this is the mission control station, whatever you want to call it. This is where my
Oh, you didn't show me that either.
Yeah, this is my electrical
nice.
system. Like I said, I'm a retired electrician. My solar comes in here, and this goes to my alternator, and that comes into here. And and what this does, of course, is it takes the solar and it charges up my house battery, which is down here under the floor. And when the house battery is fully charged, it'll trickle charge the starter battery.
Oh, very good.
So it'd be almost impossible for me to run out of juice and that. And yeah, and if it's cloudy or that, and I'm driving, this will bring it up to my house battery up to full charge in an hour.
I love this setup. It is wonderful.
And then this just goes to the radio and various electrical things, the fridge, the lights, the USB outlets, and down here is, like I said, I have a 5-gallon water tank down below. And this pops out like that. This hose is at the very top of the tank. So I take my water and I pour it in here, and when the tank gets full, it'll start dribbling out there and siphon out any extra. And I know that I've got my full 5 gallons.
Beautiful.
These are just Maglite clips that I had laying around. It's like, oh, look, it fits that hose perfectly. So, yeah, that's pretty much my van. The front, of course, like everybody, I use it for storage during the day. I've got my air horn.
I have one of those.
I got my personal spray.
You have one of those big Maglites.
I got one of those big Maglites. And this, I should do this just to make sure it's charged. This is a taser built into a flashlight.
My goodness. Wow.
So,
I want one of those.
yeah, these are nice.
Oh, yes.
And that, but hopefully I'll never have to use it.
Yep.
But when I'm in Slab City, I carry that with me.
Nice.
So yeah, that's about it. That's my thing.
All right. Thank you very much, Ron Miklovic. I'm just going to say Ron Mick.
There you go. Call me Captain Ron. That's what it says on my card. So.
Thank you so much. Now let's go talk to Iris.
Okay.